Of course, welcome to our July Land and Support user group. I'm very glad everyone could be here today. Very nice to be with y'all. Of course, our last meeting in June was canceled due to events at SL22B, our 22nd anniversary event, which just wrapped up this past Sunday. I want to, of course, mention that SL22B's first week included several Meet the Linden events. And as this chat would conflict with what was the very popular one with Second Life founder and current CTO Philip Linden, Philip Rosedale, we felt it best to hold off on the user group last time. Of course, this also means that we can discuss some of the things presented during the Meet the Lindens in this meeting. In particular, I wanted to bring up some of the things that were in the product operations Meet the Linden event because they're obviously very tied to what we're doing right now. So there may be a note here in the group. There was some new and fairly exciting Linden Home news, included the upcoming theme, which is Ridgewood Enclave. We'll leave it for you to guess anything on that. It'll be joining our Belisaria Linden Home themes, as well as being kind of somewhat of its own thing. It will be the first Linden Home offering to include commercial parcels, though the rollout will start out with just the homes, but that will be something that's coming that we're looking at getting in here. There will be more to come Linden Home-wise as well. We've got additional places coming up for both Premium and Premium Plus. We're looking at some potential updates to existing home themes. Kind of like, recently we added 4 new log home themes to the list or styles to that theme, which have greatly improved the options for log homes. It doubled the number of styles that's available. At least a couple of them I've seen fairly popular. The Timberline and a couple others. I should also add, speaking of popular things, the Aspen Ridge and Thousand Island homes have been very popular. We're adding more of those periodically. I think we just also released another ranch home region yesterday. We've got some more coming up. So watch for that. You can watch that at the Linden Home Selector, because you'll see, homes become available where there may not have been some before. And yeah, that's going to include, both the newer styles and even a couple of the older ones. I'm not going to say which ones. You'll have to find out. I should also add that we have been doing the phased retirement of our original Nascara Linden homes. That'd be the Meadowbrook, the Sharita Sumai, Tahoe Springs, and Elderland home styles. They're no longer available in the selectors, so they can't be selected, obviously. Many of those regions are now offline. If you happen to have one of the original style Linden homes, you've likely been contacted by us over the last few weeks, probably 2 or 3 or 15 times at this point, as we work to try to get everyone a great new Belisaria home. We don't want to leave anyone homeless in this. And yes, we are considering how we might be able to provide a tribute to these areas. More on that's coming. We don't have a lot of big details on that to release, but yes, as Sarah mentioned just now, fans of Cape Eakin may breathe a bit easier. That one is most likely to be saved. It's certainly one that I was pushing for. It's one we all like.
Thank you for all the updates, Wendi.
Sure thing. Anyone have any questions on any of that going forward or other things at this point? I did see your question, Sarah, on Linden World. I'll get to that in a bit.
All righty then. Well, at least diving into the support side, something that what's kind of talked about a bit during SL22B was our support team, and in particular, we, as the past months kind of have shown, have had a backlog, and we know it's been affecting you guys really roughly. But nevertheless, ultimately back in late 2024, we did have a reorg of the support team, and it has been a great change, and it was a rough change, but nevertheless, I really think we are starting to see the positivity from it. And recently, we have had a sizable increase of members on the team, and these new team members are being trained up, and they're getting up to speed like the rest of us. And nevertheless, that is now kind of resulting in the backlog going down fairly well. Faster responses. I know there was a lot of times where people were sometimes waiting upwards to a month, if not longer, for a response from us, but we're hoping that's not going to be the case anymore. Additionally, something that we all would like to really push out there is we're here on the weekends again. I know that sometime last year that went away, but now Sunday, Saturday, give us a call, hit us up in live chat. We will be here to answer your questions and resolve any issues you may have that we're able to resolve in a timely manner there. If it's not something we can handle over live chat or the phones, we'll get you in a support ticket and we'll still be able to assist you the best we can. That was just a quick update from support, though. I'm really expecting a very big change moving forward, and I'm really hoping you guys see the change as well. And we really appreciate you for being so patient with us throughout this all.
Here. Thank you on that, Alpha. I'm very, very glad that we've got our weekends back. Bella, I'm not sure. I know the Aspen Ridge regions are quite a bit of work because of all of the seasonal portions of it. So those ones take a bit to get out there and change around. So yeah, did you happen to catch the spring to summer switch? It's a little more subtle than the autumn and winter months, but it was there. So another thing we recently added a few more frequently requested last names to our last name list. Now available are Belmonte, Rascal, Baby, Sakura, Lit, Lie, Neon, Goat, Bubbles, and Aurora. Many more have been added the last couple of months. We're kind of looking at some of the most popular ones that have been, most requested ones, I should say, and making sure that those finally get out there for everyone. For what it's worth, also, if there's a name that you would like to see offered as the last name and hasn't been used before, please feel free to suggest it via our last name suggestion form right there. Sarah, there was actually some time back there was Pindon, which was very popular for some reason. That was a while back, and of course also Lindman was very popular. You can see a full list of all of the last names, including those I mentioned above, as well as access information on changing your account username at that URL right there. That'll give you all the information you need. Any other questions or concerns I want to bring up today? Feel free to drop them in. Sarah, I know there used to be one. I think it was called SL Name Watch, but I don't know if that's still around anymore. I remember seeing that a number of years ago, but I don't know if that's still around or maintained, unfortunately. It certainly would be. Some names obviously have more users than others. Discounting resident, which of course is sizable. But you look at some of the older ones, you're going to see, in some cases where a name was cycled through in days versus months. Um, um, Also want to add in, I guess it's gone, Pantera. That's unfortunate. That was kind of useful. Um, you can, of course, I mean, it's not going to give you a full listing, but you can always use search and kind of dig through there and at least get some of them, but it's not a lot. Yeah, Gossip Girl was a big name, a big name in its time. Yeah, it's probably a little less common nowadays. Not quite as uncommon as some of the beta names. So, in mainland news, the restoration work in the snowlands around Chalet Linden, in the Wingen, Voss, Toggenburg, Valmoro, etc. regions, and also the Teen Grid version in Sierra, Rainier, etc., Shasta. That's largely wrapped up. That includes a balloon tour that's been added to both. Automated lift chairs in the Wing and Voss Balmoral lifts. Ski, skate, inner tubing, and sledding options have been added to all of them. The chalet itself, in some cases, there's been some fixes, fit and finish kind of things. So it's certainly a great place to visit to escape the summer heat, should you wish. Um, we also have some ongoing road-related projects. There's one we're working on, Bay City area, Bay City, Nova Albion. It's been a long time request to connect that up with the rest of the mainland roads in the Sansera continent. So that's going forward. It's a bit delayed. We've got a lot of projects going on, but there will be something coming up there before too much longer. Okay, seeing if I've got voice for everyone now that I've moved everyone. Well, Pantera, as you know, there is work going on WebRTC. I hope that we'll be able to move to that before too much longer. It certainly seems a bit more reliable and just nicer. So that's ongoing. But let's see, where was I? What was I talking about? Oh yeah, Mainland. Um, the road. We are having some road work going on in Bay City and also near the Bob 2 region. Uh, those projects are a little slow going right now. You won't necessarily see a lot of big obvious public work on them right now. Some of the work, there definitely some of the work with the Bay City. There's parts that have to be built in order to even complete that. But that is in the works. We have some other priorities that are taking precedence. Specifically, the Nascara Linden homework that's going on is taking a lot of both Mole and Linden time to finish that up. But that'll be coming more on those projects as soon as we can. Any questions on any of that or thoughts or whatever? Feel free to jump in. Also, if you have any other questions related to land and support, please feel free to ask away. We'll do what we can to respond or at least be able to get you where you need to go. That would be telling, Sarah. Yeah, I don't want to give away everything on that just yet. There's still a certain amount of flexibility on it because so I don't want to say, oh, we're going to be going from this region to that region specific, because we might decide, oh no, this other path is going to be a little bit better, or we're going to be able to do something over here. I do know that at least one of those will have a connection on the Frog Road. But there's a couple of possibilities of where we might do that. So we're still working on it. I also wanted to add, and I know this is something that Sarah definitely knows about, and make sure everyone else does. If you do end up with any sort of connections or road issues or things you'd like to see added as far as land is concerned, anything like that. We do have the feedback board, feedback.secondlife.com. I want to talk a little bit about that, but let me go ahead and put the URL in there just before we do. Any feedback that goes in there for a land issue, by and large, unless it's something that's an absolute no or an absolute yes, ends up being tracked so that we can look into what it's going to take to make it happen. Is it something that we can actually do? Do we have are the resources actually in existence? This kind of thing. But I will tell you that everything that goes in the feedback board does get read, probably by a lot of us. It all gets discussed. Nothing gets laughed at, nothing gets pushed aside. There's no agendas because we absolutely want to hear the feedback that y'all give us. That said, sometimes there are projects, like I was just talking about the Bay City projects. Some of them might take a lot longer than we want. Some of them might, for example, be adding additional regions to the mainland. Right now, unfortunately, we aren't adding any more regions to the mainland estate. We are doing largely a focus on the Belisario right now. That includes like taking anything that's being depreciated of LH1 and moving it to the mainland or anything like that. Unfortunately, we're not doing that, at least not right now. Um, so there's a lot of projects that we would love to do that we just can't do right now. See, that's one of them that right now probably not. Um, but it's something, I've seen your request, Sarah. I know that a lot of other people here, including at least one other Linden that's here, has looked at them. Um, and it's one of those things where we might be able to do that at some point, but right now it's probably not going to happen, at least not short term. And by short term, I mean within the next 3 to 6 months, let's say. Um, but that's why we track them so that we can review them. The same goes for the idea of resurrecting Linden World. To the best of my knowledge, the resources for Linden World exist in a box somewhere. The difficulty is that Linden World was not Second Life. It was all a separate thing and did not have all of the authenticators or login that we have. A lot of that code was written more than 22 years ago and won't compile anymore. So I'm not sure what that will ever look like. It might end up being something that somewhere down the line, and this I'm going to say is going to be a long term. It might involve having to rewrite some of it, and then it's not really Linden World anymore. So I don't want to dash your hopes, but it's a big project, and I'm not sure what we'll be able to do on that. I know that everyone up to and including Philip has looked at that. Yes, indeed, Pantera. That's a little Easter egg a lot of people might not know. As far as I know, no, Sarah. As far as I know, there was not a map for it. I mean, the only maps I know of are starting with the initial beta with the original 16. And as Pantera mentioned, yes, my Linden Bear, the sound file's in it. Little known fact as far as Linden World is concerned. For those who may not know, because I'm talking a bit specific on that, Linden World was the precursor to Second Life. It was kind of the alpha, if you will, of Second Life. It was something that was created during the testing of the rig, which was an initial. Boy, I'm really going into the history here. Linden started as a company that was developing haptics, user feedback, using kind of a worn rig, with a visor, this very complex, involved deal. And as part of the testing of that, they created, a world that you could walk through while you're using the rig. That world was Linden World, named on, for those who don't know, Linden was the name of the street that we were initially located on in San Francisco, which is actually a couple block alleyway. Yep. And that ended up at one point was determined to be an even better project than what was being done with the rig. So hence Linden World ended up becoming Second Life, which is what we have today. And yeah, there were a couple of items that were brought over from it. As you mentioned, Sarah, the statue at the governor's mansion, or sorry, the statue in Natoma, pardon. The governor's mansion, the beanstalk in Tabor, is it, I believe? Although that was slightly changed. There are a couple of other things here and there, a couple of minor items that you'll find around here and there. But, getting back to what I was saying, though, I don't know what or when that'll look like, Sarah. Um, it could be something entirely different, but we'll find out. Welsh, thank you. Any other questions or concerns? Uh, Kiwi, it's land and support, although I do go on at length on land. I apologize, Alpha. Patrick, that's a good idea. Kiwi, we can discuss things in a general fashion, but we don't actually handle specific support tickets here. Um, Largely because oftentimes they include specific resident identifying materials that we don't want to discuss in a public forum. Um, I'll let Alpha handle that further on that. But it's largely we can discuss certainly generals or things that that come up with a support issue. It's And Perp, I agree on how things change over time. It is hard as far as archival is. I agree. Um, there are a lot of regions that are older, are from our beta period or even early release, uh, and a lot of mole builds and Linden specific builds that we do try to preserve as much as possible. Certainly, a lot of the area around the Ahern and Welcome area, the Oak Grove region, some of those over there, we try to keep those as archivally preserved as we can. Also, I would note that in some rare instances, we do have a thing called the Second Life Region Preservation Society that Patch specifically handles. With resident-owned regions that otherwise would be lost. We may, it's rare, but we may end up preserving those. Probably the best known examples of that are the SS Galaxy, the Svarga region, the Lost Gardens of Apollo. These are ones that we've actually taken kind of under our wing because we felt they had a particular cultural or social significance to Second Life, and we didn't want to see them get lost. Yes. Any other questions, comments, things you all want to bring up? Any questions about support specifically? Because I've been rambling a lot on land, and I don't want to cut off Alpha here. Yes. Oops. Professor, I believe that started actually from 2 weeks ago. No, we were all just being quiet, Nimble.
Oh, I'm over here trying to talk. I'm like midway of answering Neo's question. I realized my mic was muted. I'm sorry, guys.
I do
That
that
probably
all the
means my
time.
mic. Gosh, that probably means my mic was muted the entire time. Um, Nevertheless, to answer your question, Neo, ultimately there's not necessarily a set turnaround time for concierge and normal like billing support per se. The two teams have been merged, so the better way of approaching this is it depends on the process itself. So, region services is like a better way of thinking about it. Region rollbacks, rename, you may have an estate request. Those are definitely going to be looked into much quicker just because this is a high priority situation. Sometimes this is resulting in you having an unusable region. A rollback is time sensitive since past 72 hours, we may not have any options. So therefore, we will have, how do I say it? Except, going back to our SLAs, which should be public facing information for some of these tickets, we should start seeing resolutions within those timeframes for those tickets. And then regarding the other situations, it would kind of be our set normal. Ideally, we want to get those done within 3 days. Get you fully set up and resolved by then. But right now, we are getting closer of achieving those goals. But until the backlog's 100% completed, 100% depleted, it's going to be a little bit difficult to do that. But nevertheless, the region service tickets, we're definitely taking care of as soon as we get those in, just because we understand that that those can be very impactful to more than just like one person, since it's a region and sometimes you got more people over there or whatnot.
I'd add to that also that land tickets are handled specifically by the land team. Um, and we obviously have a different turnaround on some of that. And some cases, again, also, much like Alpha said, end up being in a priority for us. Trying to get those out as quick as we can. Certainly people know how I handle a lot of Linden home tickets around here. So
And yeah, just to kind of also to add a couple more sentences off what Wendy just said, um, it is sometimes going to be difficult on your guys' end to know exactly what may be a land ops situation or the customer success team situation. So over time, I'm hoping maybe you can kind of tell based on like the agents who's assisting you and whatnot. But as they said themselves, though, we do have to be mindful that usually, if it's mainland, it will probably be land ops, and if it's a private region, private island, that's going to come to us. There's obviously a lot of exceptions and a lot more information in it that can make that vary, but ultimately, it's a good rule of thumb to follow.
Pantera, I don't believe it does currently, but certainly the goal is to have community centers throughout. Um, there's a bit of a delay on those getting done versus getting the homes out. So you'll see, like, there was a certain amount of time before even going back to the squishy pickle. There was a period of time before the community areas for Victorians came out or so forth. So there's often just a little bit of a lag behind, but yeah, I know that there's stuff planned. Yeah, Sarah, I think you recently just asking about that too. I'm glad to hear there's a canning on it so it can be looked at. It would be a nice ad. I agree.
Speaking of nice ads, Neo, I truly love that idea. I don't know how hard it would be to work on something like that if even we have those capabilities. It's really hard just mainly because depending on the situation itself, it's hard to decipher, how long it may take to get to this versus this case. But that's not something I think I've brought up before. So I love that idea, and I'd like to see maybe if that's something that could, be brought to the table or not. So thank you for bringing that up.
And I'll echo also, yeah, thank you first off. And I know that because there's a backlog now, but there isn't intentionally, there's not going to be hopefully a backlog in the future. The goal is to, of course, get rid of it all and get back to where
100%.
we were.
Yeah, I remember the days where, I was able to sometimes respond to a ticket 3 minutes after it was submitted and honestly have that situation resolved an hour after it was submitted. I would like to get back to that as closely as we can. Obviously, that's not applied to every ticket. It is very situational and based on what the topic may be, the issue. But we were really good at offering super fast support and quality support, and I want to make sure we can get back there.
Patrick, not that I'm aware of, although I'm going to poke on that because I would like to see that. I know that was being in the works, but I'm not sure where the status is. So, but yeah, I will look at that because I would love to see that happen. The Coldplay option. Well, I don't know if there's any relationships going on in that particular situation now, but I know that's something that we have obviously looked at because there are polyamorous people in the world. I know we've also looked at the potential of having um, expanding that beyond just being partners, but allowing other relationships to be shown, not just like maybe family relationships or in the case of store owners of being able to show their CSRs, this kind of thing. So, I mean, there's a lot of possibilities in that. Saline, yeah, I know that there's a bit of a backlog on those. And I do apologize for that. The moles, there's a couple of moles that specifically handle the SLRR connections. I will um, twist some tails and see what we can do for you. And perp, um, yeah, the cornfield. Always love to see the cornfield, but you say about not having to stay there. What's the point? Make you stay there. We've got about 15 minutes left today, give or take. Anything else? Any other questions or things you want to bring up? Please feel free. I'd love to hear about some of the things you might be working on. You know, tell us some cool stuff. I remember that date, Sarah. I used to be very much a stickler on no Christmas in October. I still kind of feel that way as well. But I also got to a point in my life where it's like, if people enjoy it, who am I to stand in their way? So it's true, Professor. For me, autumn is always too short. So thank you, Professor. I'll get that looked into. I can understand that. Not that I'm aware of, Keith. Sorry. Very tempting, Sarah. Yeah, that does fall under land to an extent. It's a community partnership area, so it's not entirely on us, although that likely would be. Um, the difficulty with adding too much content there, including things like sounds and so forth, is that the boaters, specifically the racers, can sometimes be very picky about how much content they need to render in a region when they're racing through. But it's not a bad idea, though. I know that working in some of the snowland stuff, I definitely thought it needed more wind sounds through there. That highlights one of the things that is hoped for and intended as we move to WebRTC. I'm probably the number one thing I'm most excited about is text to speech and speech to text, so that those who need a translator, those who can't otherwise use voice, will not lose out on you know me being up here talking. Um, I generally, as a general, I actually prefer text. So yes. Yeah, that's one of many things that will be very much improved with WebRTC, especially as we continue to develop on it. We have about 10 minutes or so. Here's your hint, Bella. It's called Ridgewood Enclave. Clearly a Ridgewood. Sorry. Um, Patrick, I do not know. I know that there's been a number of considerations with that. Um, we need to look at how one of the biggest things with it has been impact. Um, if we've had a number of kind of pain points with the PBR rollout, and that affected a lot of the third-party viewers. And if people aren't moving to an updated third-party viewer, and that's a large portion of the base, then they're not going to be able to hear WebRTC voice, and so that greatly impacts the abilities of people to use voice in Second Life, and that's unfortunate. So there's a large portion of considering when a large portion of people have moved fully to a new viewer. Yeah, I see there's exactly part of the problem. Exactly, Sarah. And I know that's being worked on by our devs pretty heavily. So hopefully that'll help people then move to the new reviewer. Then they'll be able to use WebRTC. Then we can finally retire Vivox, amongst other considerations with it. There's always, several moving parts in any decision. Um, and so, yeah, exactly, Mary. So that's, but I personally am champing at the bit for WebRTC, but it's not going to be any fun if nobody else can use it. So but fingers crossed. Any last things this week? Any last comments? Any concerns that haven't already been brought up? Anything we need to see? By all means. There were some lovely builds this year, Sarah. And I'm not just talking about the mole's work. There were some really great items throughout the exhibitor area, and there were also lots of really great items in the shop and hop too. Not a bad idea. I'll pass it along. We're just about out of time. We got a couple more minutes here. Any final thoughts or comments? And yeah, Bella, I know that there's oftentimes a lot of concerns about that. I would, obviously, if there's a harassment element to that, you can abuse report it. You might also want to contact live chat and have them take a look at the region performance and see if there's anything they can do to assist on that. When you see large numbers of like the tiny empire groups or other things. It is about that time. We are going to have to take off, unfortunately. But yeah, please, let us know in live chat if live chat is around and/or abuse report. And yeah, Key, I think that it's kind of I don't know. I've never played Tiny Empires, but I assume that it's a way to increase their standing in the game. So
Alrighty,
have a great
everyone.
month, all. It's great to talk with you all.
I appreciate you all showing up, and I look forward to speaking with you again next month. But have a good rest of the day.
Here, here. Take care, all.